What happens when a member of the British royal family thinks they can steamroll over one of daytime television's most respected hosts? In just 37 seconds, Prince Harry would discover that Jane Moore wasn't about to let anyone, not even royalty, disrespect her or her show. This moment, which began as a routine interview on Loose Women, would soon become a masterclass in how quickly confidence can crumble when met with someone who refuses to be intimidated. The ITV studios were alive with their usual morning energy. Producers moved between monitors, floor managers checked cues, and the panel prepared for what everyone assumed would be a standard celebrity interview. Prince Harry had agreed to appear and discuss his latest mental health initiative, something crafted by a polished PR team eager for positive headlines. For them, it was simple: show up, smile, promote. Jane Moore sat centered at the table, the figure of calm authority. Her colleagues, Nadia Sawalha, Kay Adams, and Linda Robson, flanked her, ready to engage, question, and analyze as they always did. No one anticipated conflict. No one expected tension. But Jane, the seasoned professional she was, prepared thoroughly. She knew her guest's background, motives, and public perception, and she intended to uphold the journalistic integrity the show prided itself on. As the theme music faded and the cameras turned live, Jane delivered her signature greeting. She introduced Prince Harry with practiced warmth, but her eyes were alert, already assessing him. Harry stepped onto the set confidently, wearing the smooth expression of a man who'd spent his life in front of cameras. His royal wave, his posture, even the slight adjustment of his jacket were rehearsed details. "Thanks for having me, Jane. Great to be here with all you lovely ladies," he said. The kind of line that might play well in a lighter setting. But something in his tone, lightly dismissive, unintentionally patronizing, hit wrong. Jane felt it instantly. Words that framed them as decorative rather than professional. Jane responded politely, but a subtle firmness entered her voice. "We're glad you could find time in your busy schedule." Then, she moved quickly to real questions, refusing to let the moment slide into empty publicity. Harry launched into polished talking points, clearly memorized. But when Jane interjected with a sharp, fair question, one that linked his advocacy to the scrutiny his own family faced, his practiced smile flickered, only for a second, but enough to reveal something real beneath the media training. And that was how it began, with a single question that unsettled a prince and signaled that Jane Moore wasn't there to play along. She was there to interview. Harry's smile stiffened, the edges tightening as Jane's question echoed in the studio. The audience sensed it too, a subtle shift in the air, like the moment before a storm rolls in. Harry tried to maintain his composure, but the interruption had clearly thrown him off script. His rehearsed lines weren't built for follow-ups, and certainly not ones that challenged the very foundation of his public messaging. "I think my personal experiences make me more qualified, not less," he replied, his voice holding a faint defensive edge. He attempted to recover, leaning back in his chair as though reclaiming the upper hand. But Jane wasn't retreating. Her experience told her exactly when someone was dodging, and she wasn't going to let him slide past a point simply because he held a royal title. "Personal experience is important," she acknowledged smoothly. "But there's also the question of using those experiences publicly, especially when that publicity brings major financial benefits." She didn't raise her voice. She didn't push aggressively. She simply asked the question millions of viewers would have asked themselves. The studio fell silent again. Harry blinked, momentarily frozen, as if searching for a way to reframe the narrative. The other panelists exchanged glances, short, sharp flashes of understanding. They knew Jane well enough to recognize when she had stepped fully into her role as a journalist, not a host doing a courtesy interview. Harry swallowed, his jaw tightening. "I'm not sure I like what you're implying." The tone was unmistakable. It was the sound of someone who expected reverence, not interrogation. Nadia shifted in her seat. Kay folded her hands evenly, and Linda's eyebrows raised slightly. They weren't attacking him. They were witnessing him unravel under pressure. Jane remained unbothered. "I'm not implying anything, Harry. I'm asking the questions our viewers deserve." Answered. Her voice was firm but controlled, the tone of someone who had faced far harsher than royal irritation. "This is an interview, not a promotional monologue." Harry made the first real misstep then. Maybe it was frustration. Maybe ego. Maybe the unexpected challenge. But when he leaned forward and said, "Maybe that's how interviews work on shows like this," everything shifted. Shows like this. It was more than a phrase. It was a judgment. A dismissal of the show, the panelists, and the audience who watched them every day. Jane's posture straightened. Nadia's head tilted slightly in disbelief. Kay let out a breath, the kind that signaled restraint. Even the audience murmured softly, feeling the disrespect ripple across the room. "You mean shows that actually ask questions?" Jane replied quietly. Too quietly. The kind of quiet that carried more force than shouting ever could. Before Harry could respond, he doubled down, accusing. The tension tightened like a wire, and the audience watched, breathless. As the interview veered from awkward to explosive, the word sensationalism lingered in the air like a spark dropped on dry grass. Jane's expression remained composed, but there was a new intensity. Behind her eyes, an unmistakable shift from polite interviewer to seasoned journalist, unwilling to be patronized. She leaned forward slightly, not aggressively, but with intent. "Let me tell you something about tabloid sensationalism," she said. Her voice cold but steady. "Sensationalism is when reporters chase people down the street or dig through their bins. What we're doing here is asking legitimate questions of a public figure who willingly uses media attention when it suits him." Harry's posture stiffened. His composure, already fraying, began to unravel visibly. He glanced toward his PR team at the studio's edge, but they were powerless. No hand signals, no rehearsed lines, no pre-approved talking points could save him now. He was stuck in real time, on live television, with no script to hide behind. "I think you're being confrontational on purpose," Harry said, his voice rising in frustration. "This isn't what we agreed to." "What we agreed to," Jane responded instantly, "was an interview, not a controlled promotional appearance. There's a difference." The subtle emphasis cut sharply. She wasn't angry, she was precise. Nadia finally leaned in, unable to stay silent. "Harry, Jane is one of the most experienced journalists in the country. She's always fair." Her tone was gentle but firm. A bridge extended in an increasingly hostile exchange. Harry laughed, a short, humorless sound. "Is it fair to ambush someone who came here in good faith?" Kay stepped in next. "Nobody ambushed you. We asked standard questions. If you can't handle them, that's not our problem." Her Scottish bluntness cut through the tension, like a blade. Harry's cheeks flushed. "Maybe I shouldn't be doing interviews on shows like this," he snapped. "Shows that care more about drama than conversation." Linda, who had been quiet until now, finally spoke up. "Drama? You're the only one creating drama. Jane asked you a few tough questions, and you've thrown your toys out of the pram." Harry turned sharply toward her, pointing. "Don't you dare speak to me like that. You have no idea who you're talking to." The studio gasped. It was the kind of moment impossible to take back. Disrespect delivered openly, clearly, and without remorse. Something in the room shifted instantly. Jane's face went pale, not with fear, but with fury so controlled it felt icy. "Did you just tell one of my colleagues not to dare speak to you?" she asked quietly. "In my studio?" Harry hesitated, realizing the gravity of what he'd said, but pride wouldn't let him retract it. "I'm saying there should be basic respect." Jane rose slightly in her chair, not fully standing, but making it clear she held the questions, and then demand respect. The audience murmured, unified in agreement. The prince had crossed a line, and everyone knew it. Harry stood abruptly, the chair scraping the studio floor, an audible marker of his frustration. "I don't have to sit here and listen to this," he snapped, his voice sharp. But Jane, rising slowly to her feet, met his gaze without hesitation. "No, you don't," she said firmly. "And frankly, we don't have to pretend that your presence here is some kind of gift to our viewers. If you can't handle basic scrutiny, then perhaps you should stick to interviews that print whatever your PR team provides." The other panelists mirrored Jane's stance. United, they formed an unyielding front. Experienced professionals, defending their integrity. The studio audience, silent until now, seemed to collectively lean forward, sensing a rare moment of accountability unfolding live on television. "This is ridiculous," Harry said, his voice cracking under stress and humiliation. "I came here to discuss important issues, and you've turned it into a circus." Nadia leaned in, calm but unflinching. "The only circus here, Harry, is the one you've created. You could have answered Jane's questions professionally, had a real conversation. But instead, you chose to insult us. And now you're throwing a tantrum. Because we didn't bow and scrape. Kay added, her tone measured and direct. This is exactly the entitled behavior. That makes people question whether the royal family is relevant. In modern Britain, Harry's face shifted from red to pale. How dare you question the relevance of the royal family? Do you have any idea what we've done for this country? What have you done lately? He demanded. Linda, never one to hold back, countered sharply. Besides complaining about how hard your life is while living in unimaginable luxury, what exactly have you done? Jane has raised millions for charity. Nadia campaigns tirelessly for better mental health services. Kay has exposed corruption in local governments. What have you done besides trade on your family name and complain about perceived injustices? The audience murmured agreement. Harry's composure crumbled entirely. His public image, carefully curated for years, disintegrating in real time. I served in the military. I've worked with veterans, disadvantaged children, people with real problems, he protested. Jane's voice softened slightly, but remained unwavering. And we respect that. But military service doesn't exempt anyone from basic politeness, professionalism, or accountability. You have spent 10 minutes insulting this show, belittling everyone on this panel, and speaking to Linda as if she were beneath you. And now you're surprised we aren't impressed. Harry's defenses faltered. Harry walked toward the exit, shoulders slumped, dignity diminished. Slowly, applause rose from the audience, starting tentatively, then swelling into a thunderous ovation. Jane's smile returned, calm and resolute. The show had delivered a rare spectacle, a public figure challenged, exposed, and reminded that respect is earned, not demanded.